Well, hello again over there in YouTube land. Today I've got pretty much a treat. I don't get to see things like this around here at all. What I've got is I have a Husqvarna 2100 XP. And we're going to tear the muffler off of it, check a cylinder, pull the spark plug out, do the usual lookovers, and then possibly see what we got to have to make it run. But we're going to start with just the inspection first. We're going to go ahead and pull the side cover off, clutch cover, look underneath it and see what it looks like. Which it doesn't look bad at all. Clutch looks pretty new. A little dirty. We'll put the bar nuts back on the studs so we don't lose them. All right. Only thing to it's do it. So we're gonna pull off the muffler, look in the cylinder. Of course, grab the wrong socket. It's like what all those women say. If you want to be irresistible to a man, turn yourself into a 10mm socket. They'll never quit looking for you. That's an 11 and it don't fit tight enough. Guess I'm going to go get a 10mm. So just so you know, it's going to be a 10mm, and that's the size of the hex head on these muffler bolts. A big old huge son of a gun muffler. Come over here and then we'll pop off the air filter cover. This thing might actually not need much. Oh no, it looks like it's been sitting for a while. Got some brown recluses in there and all kinds of cool stuff. That's alright. They'll be evicted before it's over with. Good liberal application of brake parts cleaner usually takes care of the problem. Just when you pull the air filter. Full carb looks pretty good. Well, kill switch is broke. But we'll come up with something for that. Choke moves pretty free. Spark plug out. It's already loose. Nice brown color. Not bad. It's not looking bad at all. Then we'll get us a flashlight and we'll look down in the cylinder. Give me a minute and I'll be right back with you, and I'll get you off the mount and let you look down through there. Well, piston looks pretty good. Cylinder looks pretty good. We're gonna roll this thing over and see if there's any scoring on the piston. Everything looks fairly clean. Well, first I gotta fix the recoil to be able to do that, but let's turn around and look down through the spark plug hole and see what the top of the piston looks like. Boy, she looks clean. We'll say there's not a whole lot keeping this thing from running. But I do know first we're going to have to address the pull rope issue. And then go from there. All right, I haven't fixed the pull rope yet, but the piston in there, shoot, it looks good too. Now, I will say that this thing's a little bit tight to turn over, so I'm actually going to turn it over with the screech over here on the clutch. And you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna assume that the bearings are seized up in it. So we'll zip this clutch off, we'll pull the oil pump off of it, and look at the bearing, because the bearing sits right behind the oil pump on these. Well, before I actually go over there and just pull off the clutch, I'm gonna pull this recoil start assembly and see if there's not something binding up on the flywheel, because it's possible too, but I really think it's going to end up being needing bearings. That's what I really think, but I could be wrong. Yeah, she's tight. Well, I thought there for a minute I might have something to fit that, but I don't. Yeah, it's just a little bit tight, so I'm going to assume that that's exactly what it is. It's going to have crank bearings. And believe it or not, you can still actually buy the crank bearings. And just for giggles, we'll pull off this handle. Pull the cylinder off. Look at everything under there. Boy, I tell you, this thing may have been put back together, but it wasn't put back together very good. Everything just seemed to be loose on it. As like I said, it's not every day I get to see a 2100. This thing belongs to a tree care. A buddy of mine works in tree care business. He just asked me if I thought I could fix it. I said, well, I'll give it a shot. And I understand that parts for these are very hard to come by. Husqvarna has discontinued every piece of it, but the screws, and I think the filter. She reeks like stale gas. So, guess we'll get the Allen wrenches out now, the Allen keys, whatever you want to call them. And we'll pull the carb. And then we'll pull the cylinder off. Then look down inside the crankcase. And the only reason why I'm pulling the carb off is because I'm pretty certain that it's gonna have to be cleaned. I don't see there being any way around that. Yeah, she stinks. So now we'll pull the carb back. Try to get all this linkages unhooked. There's the throttle linkage. We'll roll that dude out. And then we'll roll the carb and should have the choke should slide off. Just like it. And it is a Tillotson style carburetor. Well, I think it's quite a bit bigger than the Allen key that I've got out right now. Oh yeah, the piston on this side looks good down through the intake port too. Well, all I know is there's a spider in there now. He is not very happy. There's a little bit of stale gas all in there. Probably gonna pick down in there and clean out the holes for the Allen key screws. Give me a minute, let me get these pulled out, and then I'll show you what we got from there. Just if you're curious and want to know, the Allen key that you're going to use is a 5mm to remove the bolts out of the cylinder head. And boy, was she ever tight. I guess we'll have a really good up close look at what the cylinder and the piston look like in here today by pulling the cylinder off of it. Just hoping I can get this thing to run. But we'll have to see about what the man that owns it wants to do. I'm just going to pry up just a little bit on here. I've already got all the bolts out. She awfully tight in there. All right. The inside of this cylinder brand new. It's still got all the cross hatching in it. No score marks. It's not got a lot of time on it. So now we'll look at the piston. Yeah. Piston looks good. So we'll roll this dude back over by hand. Bring the piston up to the top. Maybe. Oh man, all the bearings in the bottom end are tight. I mean, that thing will set straight up and down. Well, after a little bit of playing, I think I've got it freed up. We're gonna pull this clip out, pull the wrist pin out, and then check the bearing up top and the wrist pin. I know there's guys out there that absolutely love these 2100s. And there's a cult following for them. And there's the wrist pin. But yeah, I mean, just after a little bit of lubricating with the old oil can, this thing's actually freeing up. Spray in the bottom of this case here and clean all this stuff that I've just worked up out. Get everything clean, and then I'm gonna re-oil it and see if it spins over any freer. Well, I've sprayed it out with brake parts cleaner, and now we're just gonna take this blow gun and blow in the oil in there. Blow all this brake parts cleaner out. She's pretty free now. So what we're going to do is probably just leave that soak overnight and come back tomorrow, clean it all out again, and probably start reassembly.